FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know a band we play here on The Dark, and tonight on the phone, I'm talking with Dax, and I think I also have Zach from the band Kirra, and of course, this is a band out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, if I'm correct on that, right? Am I right on that, Dax?
Yep, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Absolutely. Okay, good. First of all, thanks so much for joining me on The Dark, and you guys are on the road. In fact, tonight you are in Iowa playing some shows down there. How things going for you guys overall?
It's been a pretty good tour so far. We've started up at Seattle, worked our way down the coast, and it's been a pretty good line of shows with Tantric.
And a lot of boring driving in between, I'm sure, right?
Oh, just endless hours of pavement. It's wonderful.
What are you guys doing, I guess, to buy the time, I guess, when you're traveling on the road?
We listen to music, but that gets old pretty quickly, so we'll listen to comedians that'll, kind of pass the time too. Some of us will we'll read books or read stories on our phones or play games. I mean, just really anything to pass the time, especially when you're driving on the West Coast because the states are so huge, so all the drives are 8 hours long.
Yeah, you mentioned music that you're listening to a little bit and some comedians. Who are you? Who have you been listening, I guess, music-wise, and who was some of the comic relief for you, I guess, on this trip?
Oh, okay. Music-wise, I mean, it really varies because we listen to a lot of, mainstream hard rock, Chevelle, Caesar, Breaking Benjamin, that kind of stuff. But after hearing that a million times, we'll branch out and we'll listen to, experimental techno music. It's almost like, it's not dubstep, but it's kind of spatial techno stuff, and then sometimes we'll listen to instrumental guitar music, stuff like that. I mean, anything to kind of break away and listen to something new.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, it's kind of nice that you're trying to help yourself out, and that when I say help yourself out is maybe get some ideas to experiment maybe for some future songs, future album kind of things, and kind of maybe hone your skills a little bit too. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you want to be a well-versed musician. So, I mean, when you're listening to all those different kinds of music, it sparks creativity in your own genre, to do something kind of different. That's what we try to do, at least,
Dax, let's talk about the history of this band, Kirra. How did this band all come about?
This band came about basically when Zach and I, the drummer, we put an ad on Craigslist. We were looking for some musicians in the area, and Ryan answered, one of the first people that answered, and he's like, "Yeah, I play bass, and I've got a buddy Jesse who can sing and play guitar." So we were, that's perfect. That's a full band. So we're like, "Yeah, come, we'll learn these songs and we'll jam it out and we'll see how it goes." And we jammed around a few songs, and that went well and stuff. But then we were like, okay, let's just jam something. And then we wrote a song that's actually on our album, Runaway, called Drowned.
Yeah.
Or Drowned, I'm sorry. And we wrote that on our very first time meeting each other. So we were like, oh, wow, we should probably start a band.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, let's bring Zach in, obviously, since you and Zach kind of founded this band and got things going. And I'm going to ask him, of course, you're obviously, Dax, you're on the lead guitar, but Zach joining me now. Zach's on the drums and that. And I guess let's talk about, we talked about the history of the band, but let's get the name a little bit. What's the meaning behind the name? How did the name come up, Kirra? And give us that lowdown, Zach.
Oh, well, the name came from a beach in Australia.
Okay, yeah.
And, I mean, we were really just looking for something original and something short that, not the normal band name,
It's funny because today's world, you got to be very careful on the name you pick, don't you?
Oh yeah. I mean, now you really have to research if you want an original name, because I mean there's so many artists out there that a lot of the stuff's taken and you don't even realize it. So you really have to search and make sure that your name's original.
Absolutely. Okay, we're talking with Zach now, the drums. We talked to Dax just a moment ago. Let's get you, Zach, for a little bit here and obviously we kind of learned the history about how did you and Dax all come together, I guess, and really start this thing off. I mean, kind of what influenced you to get going and get yourselves a rock band?
Me and Dax actually met through a close friend of the family. We were both just happened to be looking for a band at the time. I actually just like got on the market for a band actually, right before we met, and we met up one day, and it was just me and him. I think he had another band, but I think the other guys in the band dropped out for whatever reason. So it ended up just being me and him, and we jammed a few songs, and we decided, we should go for it.
The hardest thing that it's for me to believe is, and I date my age here, but nowadays band members are being found on Craigslist, and that's how you found two of your guys. Isn't that crazy? How that happens?
Yeah, it was a huge stroke of luck for us, and it just so happened that they were actually like the first people that actually showed up to jam with us and try to get something going. So it was extremely lucky.
Very cool, very cool. I'll put Dax back on the phone. Here's those guys right now. We're talking with the band Kirra. They're out and about on a tour. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. So let's talk about the album a little bit, Runaway. And the reason I want to talk about it is because obviously it's 2014. You put it out, and that's 3+ years. Has some of the, I guess, maybe influences or thinking of what you want coming up have changed from that album in 2014? What I mean by that is, you guys have been out now for 3+ years pushing this album, and now it's starting to get known, at least nationwide, even more. Is there a direction maybe from the album you're going to go a little bit differently, or are you going to kind of stick with the same kind of direction maybe in the next album?
Well, the next album is definitely going to be a lot more experimental and heavier.
Okay.
At least rhythmically. We strive for melody in all of our songs, but we're trying to push the limits to what heavy rock will allow, I guess.
That's up for interpretation, isn't it? Because I tell you what, 5-6 years ago, you wouldn't be playing some stuff that now all of a sudden is in mainstream rock. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah. The industry has definitely changed for mainstream rock. That's for sure.
And the one thing, I guess for me, I'm more of a true like rock guy, and this is nothing against some of those other artists out there that have fit into the mainstream rock category, but almost some of it has almost gotten too alternative / maybe AAA music rather than true rock. What is your feeling on that?
It's kind of like you said, it's very subjective. I guess it depends on if you like that kind of mainstream sound. I guess if I had to say anything like that, but it's like some bands I think can pull it off and experiment with those new age sounds and actually still kind of keep the rock basis. Distorted guitar, bass, drums, vocals, and pull it off well.
Right.
Some bands do it, and I think sometimes it can sound really, really just stock and borderline tacky.
Yeah, and I'm having a hard time as a programmer here myself sometimes when I get some stuff from some well-known artists, but I'm like, boy, that really doesn't fit maybe my genre of listener. But then again, it's like you kind of have to put it on there because, that's probably what they're asking for. But maybe I'm confused on what's happening in the rock world now. I know before they said, rock is dead. I think rock is maybe not dead. It's more confused on where it really needs to go. What are your comments on that?
That's it's kind of funny. That's actually my thoughts exactly. I think rock is kind of in a place where it doesn't really have its own identity yet. And it's kind of struggling to find one. It's experimenting a lot with EDM and electronic, and then I've seen some rock bands experiment with country, and some are experimenting with rap, and no one's really quite sure where rock stands because it's kind of going all over the place right now.
Yeah, it is. We're talking with Dax and Zach. They're from the band Kirra out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. What's the rock scene like in Oklahoma? I guess, I know of a few bands down there, but what is the rock scene like?
I think the rock scene in Oklahoma can be good. It requires a lot of effort because, I mean, people in the industry will tell you that Oklahoma is a very hard city for rock music, and it is. But, you know, if you're a local band and you push hard, I think you can make a good scene in Oklahoma. I believe that's true with any local scene. I think if the effort is put, then you'll get something, I think.
What, as a kid growing up, what did you listen to a lot of, I guess, that maybe influenced you today to where you're at?
Some of the earliest albums I remember, it's the very first Audio Slave record.
Okay.
The first Alter Bridge record and the first Shinedown record. Those three records were kind of pivotal for me as a kid listening to me. Like, oh, I really like this sound. I really gravitated towards it.
Right.
And my dad, he listened to all kinds of music. So he listened to like the Bee Gees and Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
And my mother would listen to like country. So I was never quite a fan of that, but yeah, definitely had the exposure to it. That's for sure.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. A lot of times you kind of gravitate to what your parents maybe listened to. And I don't think I did that because I remember they were big fans of Glenn Campbell. I'd passed away, and Rhinestone Cowboy was one that they always loved playing. And I remember that as a kid. And you know, so you mentioned the Bee Gees and things like that when you're growing up in that era too, of what your parents listened to. You did mention though, for instance, Audio Slave, and of course, unfortunately, we had the death of Chris Cornell recently happen, and we've had some high-profile deaths once again in the rock world. I guess, what's your take of this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty big shock for me personally. I mean, it's kind of one of those things that you don't realize an artist has an impact on you until they're gone.
Right.
You know, I think it's just part of the modern world now. We're so used to instant gratification. You kind of just you take for granted the fact that they're around, and then they're gone. You're like, oh wow, I didn't realize how much that artist meant to me. You know, and it's a sad deal, and it brings up a lot of questions about mental health and how we should go about doing that with people and talking about it publicly.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I agree. And it's something that unfortunately has happened too often, and to some really, it doesn't matter what if they're a high-profile person or if there's somebody that's not, but in the industry of music, it seems to be happening a lot. What is, I guess, music and the industry doing right now to try to help everybody out? Is everybody trying to get a grasp and maybe help out, or if they see somebody in some need, get that person some help?
I think, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough question. How do you be there for someone, And
right.
I think the best thing I could recommend is, lead by example and always have an open hand, Always be open to help someone and ask them. Sometimes they won't go to you. You have to go to them and at least initiate some sort of concern or, curiosity is if they're okay,
Right.
And sometimes that means more to them than, them having to go to you.
Absolutely. We're talking with Dax and Zach from the band Kirra, and their latest song is Downfall. We're going to play that here in a little bit on their airwaves. I'll bring in Zach in just a moment. I'll ask you this question first, though, Dax. You guys are out on tour right now with, actually, you're touring with some of my buddies, too, I think, coming up here, Saving Abel. I think you're going to be hanging out with those guys for a little bit. That's pretty cool. And then if I even saw on the list here, I think you're playing with a band out of Minnesota called Strange Days. I know those guys really well, too. What's it like playing tours with these bands and that, and getting to know these guys, and for that matter, just the camaraderie that goes out there?
It's wonderful, honestly. I mean, because when you're a starting up band and you're going on these tours, the best thing you can do is be around people that have succeeded in the music industry. And when you're around those people, you just have to learn what to do and what not to do. That's like your main job as a upcoming band when you're out on the road, is just to learn how this thing works and how to do it better.
So my question to you and to Zach is, if you had to put together your ultimate 3-band bill, so Kirra's going to go out with, let's say, 3 other bands, and this would be your big time, this is what I'd love to go out with, who would those other 3 bands be?
Okay, wow. Let's see here. I think, I don't know if I have a particular order,
That's fine.
but I would like it to be Kirra, Chevelle,
Okay.
Alter Bridge,
Yep.
Seven Dust, Nothing More.
Okay. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get Zach on the phone. Let's get what his take is on this.
Alrighty.
Of course, we're talking with Zach and Dax, and the question I have for you, Zach, is we're touring, and right now you're going out on tour with some bands. But if you had, Zach, had to put together your ultimate band bill, that would be Kirra along with 3 other bands. Who would you love to go out and tour with?
Oh, man. I would say Blackstone Cherry.
Yeah, those guys are fun.
Oh, yeah. Seven Dust.
Okay.
And Breaking Benjamin.
Breaking Benjamin. Very cool. Very cool.
That would be ideal. That would be amazing.
I asked Dax this question. I'm going to ask you. Growing up as a kid, what music influenced you? Where did you get your influence in music, get into the rock world and that, I guess, as a kid growing up?
Oh, man. My dad was he always played the drums, so he turned me on to a lot of good music when I was growing up. I was really, really into, he really likes the southern metal like Pantera and, Black Label Society and stuff.
So is there a certain drummer or drummers that you, I guess, looked up to or even today look at and go, I'd love to meet that person, or I kind of inspire this guy inspires me or whatever, or even gal?
Oh, well, I think probably Morgan Rose is probably
okay.
Biggest influence on me right now from Seven Dust.
Yeah.
He's an animal. He's the alien behind the kid.
The one thing about Seven Dust too that they do, and it's Clint. He's phenomenal with up and coming bands. He loves to promote that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a great guy. I haven't got to meet him personally, but I follow him on social media, and from what I've seen, he's a stand-up guy that loves. Yeah, he's just all about the music. So
let me ask you that question. Since Clint's a big supporter of music that for up and comings, has there been a band out there that has helped you guys out and supported you to get to where you're at today?
Well, I would say a lot of the local bands around Oklahoma City. We really like to promote each other.
Okay.
So it's a big thing. The scene's not as good as it could be, but I think the bands, they stick together around Oklahoma City at least.
All right, and this is my favorite part of the show right now, the question to ask each band. And the question I'm going to ask you is, okay, so promoting bands is one thing that we do here on The Dark, and a lot of times I find out these new bands through bands like yourself. So is there a band out there, maybe it's in the Oklahoma scene, that hasn't maybe made it nationally yet that I should think about listening to and get them played on our airwaves?
Oh, yeah, there's this local band called Atris.
Okay.
With ATRUS.
All right.
They're my personal favorite out of Oklahoma, and I feel like they definitely don't get enough recognition as they should.
Okay.
They're really, really tight progressive rock band.
Very cool. Very cool. I will check them out. You said Atris, ATRUS, correct?
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, let's get Dax back on the phone. I'm going to ask him that same question, too, because this is where I love to help bands promote themselves and maybe other bands, too. And I just talked to Zach about, is there a band maybe in your area, in the Oklahoma City area, that we don't know about here on The Dark, but I should know about? He had mentioned Atris. Is there another band maybe that we should know about that hasn't been discovered yet nationally?
Let's see. There's a couple. I think if I had to pick one at the moment that's on the top of my brain, I would say Pet. Just P-E-T.
Really?
Yeah. They remind me of like an up-and-coming Alice in Chains. Really cool sound. I like them.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the future for album for you? We talked about a little bit of the Runaway has been out there for 3+ years. Are you guys in the works of making a new album right now?
Yes, we are definitely in the works. We've been writing new songs for a long time. It's been 3 years, and I think we started writing for this new record like 2 years ago, or maybe a year ago. And I think we're probably going to go into the studio soon.
Okay.
And record some tracks. Yeah, I think it's time for a new album.
Very, very cool. And obviously you're touring right now, and I see you do have a stop in Minnesota, October 12th. You'll be at the Triple Rock down in downtown Minneapolis, and as I mentioned, Saving Abel will be on that. I think Soil's on there too, and I even think I got an email too from Eric Modry from Strange Days. I think they're performing that night too, so that should be one heck of a show there. Huh? Have you guys played in Minnesota before?
Oh yes, we know who Strange Days is.
You guys know them too well, huh?
Oh yeah. We've played a bunch. Every time we've come to Minnesota or like Wisconsin, I'm sure we've played with Strange Days.
Who's the worst in that group, by the way?
Oh my gosh. See, now my memory's gonna fail me. I'm forgetting names.
That's okay. Well, I know there's Eric, there's Scott, there's Pixie. I love Pix, by the way. He does a hell of a job, playing the bass. He just rocks it. But yeah, those guys have fun. And that's a band, and they're right in our area here, and they've played right here in Little Falls a few times before too. This is a band that for some reason I just can't figure out why they haven't got discovered nationally yet, because they are very good, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a very tight band. Yeah, we play with them, and every time they kill it.
Let's talk about the future of Kirra. As we mentioned, the touring going on now, and also you got the record coming up. Are there any other projects or things you guys are working on right now to get this band some more exposure and get you out there nationally?
I don't know. I may get in trouble for saying so.
All right.
Anyway.
All right. I want to hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, we're probably going to have a new single come out. I don't know how soon that'll be, but expect a new single from Kirra.
All right. And is it
relatively soon? And
it'll be a brand new, not off the old album. It's going to be brand spanking new.
Correct.
All right. That's what I want to hear. Did you hear that, Central Minnesota? We got a new song coming here eventually, and I'm sure the guys over at Pavement will get that to us right away, won't they?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they will. Don't get mad at me, Tim.
No worries. I'll make sure it's okay. Hey, last question for you before we get going here is if people want more information about this band, Kirra, how do they find out more information about you?
You can just go to our website, KirraMusic.com. Yeah, that's a great place for all things Kirra, or you can go to our Facebook, Instagram. We got all that kind of stuff too, YouTube. Type in Kirra Music, Kirra Band, whatever, and we should be there.
Awesome. Hey, you know what? Congratulations once again on your song Downfall getting into the top 20. And, to be honest with you, it's probably going to get even higher where it's at. I know last time I looked, it was at 22 on Under the Radar, and I think the charts will be coming out later on today. So who knows? It might even be in the top 15 by now, for all we know.
Whew. Only hope.
Hey, a lot of fun talking to you, and looking forward to maybe getting a chance to meet you, too, at one of the concerts coming up. And definitely, if you're ever coming through the Little Falls area here, we're not too far away from the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, an hour and a half or so. Definitely make your way up here. We play acoustic, and maybe even do a live set somewhere at one of the venues here. That'd be fun?
That sounds wonderful. Let's do it.
And we'll bring the crazy guys some Strange Days, too, and make it happen, okay?
Yeah, we'll make it a fun time.
Hey, tell Zach, thanks so much for joining us. And Dax, you too, have a safe trip, safe travels on your journeys. We wish you the best of luck, and we're going to play your latest song, Downfall, right now. You okay with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Once again, that is Zach. That is Dax. The band is Kirra. They're out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Their latest song is called Downfall. You're hearing it right now. It's on The Dark. It's on FM 94.